Charlie Sykes, I will admit that even after Donald Trump got elected, I thought America would come to its senses. I thought Republicans, my former party, would come to its senses. I remember Steve Bannon proudly bragging that he was a Leninist. And as a Leninist, he wanted to tear down government, tear down all the institutions that lifted us up, tear down all the institutions that created the American century, tear down all the institutions that fed and freed more people than any other country in the history of mankind. That's what he wanted to do. And I was like, oh, whatever. That's where we are right now. You have Republican candidates saying they're going to abolish the FBI, defund it and abolish it. They're going to tear down the Justice Department. They're going to tear down institutions. They're going to tear down universities. They're going to do all the things that we conservatives supposedly feared during the 1960s from the radicals on the far left. They're actually closer to doing it than the hippies ever were.
And, you know, this is not Trump derangement syndrome. This is what they are saying that they want to do.
What they say.
This is what they have made it very clear. This is Steve Bannon's agenda right now. I think that's a very interesting point when he said, you know, I want to burn it all down, tear it all down. Well, what are Republicans all around the country running on? I don't think that it's too alarmist to say that this would be the end of the Department of Justice's independence, and that would be just part of it. Because, it's always difficult and dangerous to believe anything that Donald Trump says. But I actually do think that I believe when Donald Trump says that he intends to do this, when he says, I am your retribution, he means it.
Yes.
That doesn't mean he'll accomplish everything, but he will try. And think what that would be like. The Trump 2.0 would be exponentially worse than Trump 1.0. You would not have many of the adults in the room that stop the worst abuses. And I think this is one of those moments where we need to take him at his word and the rest of his party at his word, because we're at a point now where it's not just Steve Bannon who is ranting at the moon. He has brought much of the Republican Party itself along with it. The base wants this, and there's no indication that the Republican establishment would be a check against him if he tried to do this in a second term.
They are panicked, gang. I mean, absolutely panicked. They're sounding the alarm. The Trump train is poised to wreak havoc on the deep state, and the legacy media is petrified that it is indeed going to happen. We talked yesterday about some of the post-J6 indictment polls that have been coming out. The latest poll from Premise, one of the first post-J6 indictment polls, has Trump trouncing Biden by 42 to 38. And in the battleground state of Arizona, post-J6 indictment poll has Trump up +2 over Biden. So as you can see, the legacy media is starting to panic over this. I mean, CNN sounded the alarm last week. They're looking at the numbers, and they are reluctantly recognizing that Trump is better poised than he's ever been to win the White House. He's standing in a stronger poll position than he did in 2016 or in 2020. But there was Scarborough. You heard several references there to the apocalyptic vision of Steve Bannon, the former chief advisor to Trump, who now, of course, is the host of the War Room podcast, architect of the precinct strategy that is slowly but surely taking over elections. The notion that Bannon referred to himself as a Leninist, it comes from a 2013 article written by Kimberly Strassel. And Bannon denies he ever said that, as I understand it. Bannon has said that that story was being circulated by someone he never even heard of, and who claimed to have met him at a party, and that he said something about Lenin. So at the very least, what Scarborough just said there was, again, at least superficially false. He himself never heard Bannon refer to himself as a Leninist. But Bannon most certainly does want to burn it all down. He's repeatedly advocated dismantling the system. But what system is Bannon talking about here? Well, Bannon has consistently referred to dismantling the system known as the administrative state. And that's the term du jour for the permanent bureaucracy that's developed in Washington since World War II, which has been more or less completely amputated from any constitutional or democratic oversight. It's a matrix of unelected bureaucrats who've arrogated to themselves ultimate decision-making power over even the president himself. I mean, we've seen this most recently, of course, with the indicting of President Trump over the supposed mishandling of classified documents. We are now living in a time where the legacy media is doing everything they possibly can to convince us that the authority to designate national security classification rests ultimately in the hands not of the President of the United States, as the Constitution states, not in a duly elected president, but rather in the hands of a bunch of faceless, unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats. Those are the ones who supposedly have ultimate decision-making authority. And that's precisely the kind of administrative state, or more popularly known as the deep state, that Bannon wants to tear down. And what has the legacy media so freaked out is it looks like they're about to do it. It's already underway. The dismantling of the deep state will be the centerpiece of Trump's second term, which of course raises the question, are you ready to join the resistance? Because I'm leading a group of dedicated, courageous patriots who can lead a spearhead into the heart of the secular globalist establishment. We punished Bud Light. We punished Target. We've driven CNN and the legacy media to near bankruptcy. We forced BlackRock to backtrack on ESG. And now we see our glorious Trump-appointed Supreme Court ending affirmative action and protecting religious liberty. In my Insiders Club, I show you concrete steps to take locally and online that will only keep this mass uprising growing until the battle is won. Don't wait. Click on that link in my description below and join my Courageous Patriots Insiders Club today. Trump's second term agenda is already in the works. It's going to be the full implementation of an executive order known as Schedule F. This is an executive order that Trump signed in October 2020. It was one of his last executive orders. It got a lot of press when it was originally signed, but it obviously got lost in the midst of all the chaos in the aftermath of November 3rd. What Schedule F does to the deep state is basically like what Order 66 does to the Jedis in Star Wars. Order 66 was a top secret order identifying all Jedi as traitors to the Galactic Republic, and therefore they had to be eliminated. Schedule F functions very much the same way. It reassigns federal bureaucrats in D.C. as Schedule F employees, which in effect strips away all of their employment protection, thereby enabling the president to fire tens of thousands of deep state bureaucrats. A second-term Trump is the deep state's worst nightmare, because not only would Trump fire tens of thousands of these ultra-left bureaucrats, but he would replace them with loyal ultra-MAGA patriots who would guarantee America First populism governing the nation for the foreseeable future. And to that end, Trump, according to a recent Axios report, Trump has already begun to enlist solid conservative organizations who are charged with recruiting loyal ultra-MAGA replacements for all of these bureaucrats. So the deep state knows that were Trump to win a second term, their days are over. He will indeed shatter the deep state apparatus. He'll dismantle the administrative state such that the FBI and all the other three-letter agencies will literally be unrecognizable after he's done. So that fear, that doomsday scenario, seems to have forced their hand to try to get rid of him. So here we are. And all of it is done at this point is unleash the MAGA beast like never before.